And now the 419 with Gretchen DeBacker, Matt Killam, and Kevin Mullen.
Welcome into the 419. I'm Kevin Mullen.
Gretchen DeBacker.
Matt Killam.
419, of course, powered by WGTE, presented by Witro Wealth Management. We appreciate you joining us today for a Wellness Wednesday edition of the 419, presented by our friends at WorkSpring. We got an exciting conversation teed up. Matt, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about workplace burnout and just general stress and fatigue. I can tell you by looking at the two of your faces, this show couldn't have come soon enough.
I have pages of notes.
That's right. All questions, yeah.
This is one of those like when you have a dinner party and invite a friend over that happens to be a pediatrician or primary care physician or something, or even like a therapist, and you're like, hey, while I've got you here,
Yeah.
can you look at this mole?
Yeah, sure.
It's appetizing.
Yeah, can you just
party?
let me use the bathroom by myself? I'm like, no, I cannot.
Yeah,
Now, Gretchen, you are an excellent host. Kevin, I've never been invited to your home.
That's not true. That's not true. No, you did. I do remember.
Because I never have been.
That's true. That was intentional.
That's right.
No. So my wife is an incredible host.
Okay.
And like for the holidays, like has a theme and like goes
Right.
all out with the decorations, and the kids get involved in designing things to
I
put
could see
as
that.
like
Yeah.
centerpieces and all that. It's really incredible. My job is to secure tables and chairs if we have more people than we currently have tables and chairs for.
Okay.
So if we need to set up additional seating, that's my responsibility, and that's where it starts and ends. They don't want me touching food.
Sure.
Wise.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. But I do remember when you and I first met.
Yeah.
You came over.
Maybe it was too early for an invite. It was awkward.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, no.
Like you met him at SIP, and then you're like, want
Hey,
to
do you
come to
want
my
to come
house?
over to my house?
Yeah, there was one and done.
Just the two of us.
Yeah, sure.
It
Yeah.
was great.
There was no furniture. There was just plastic all
Weird.
over. Plastic all over. It was really strange. Yeah. It is a good time of year. Not that it's always not a good time for our Wellness Wednesday, indiscriminate of the subject matter, but everyone is walking and driving around with tense shoulders and backs.
Dry skin.
Right. That's okay. That's part of the list. So this has been on my mind to hit. It is certainly a start of a new year, right, which has a lot of positives, but it's a bit of a grind in Northwest Ohio as it's dark, usually when you're driving to work, and usually dark on your way out as well.
Well, and the question is really how many days this week are my kids even going to go to school?
Sure.
Right, and it's
Yeah.
like we're in that limbo where the meteorologist says, like, this is what you're going to get, and you just wait the next day, and sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. But it's that crazy weather season where,
The extent to which kids want snow days and the extent to which parents don't want snow days are so diametrically opposed. It's
I also think we've all turned into old curmudgeons. I can't tell
Yeah.
you the amount of people that talk about, we're getting soft, or back in my day, we're now people saying that.
make them go to school.
back in your day, it wasn't 20 below zero.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Like that was not something that existed. I don't remember it ever being that cold when I was a kid.
But we were barefoot and walking uphill.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that made it harder.
Well, you were.
Yeah.
Because you were in the one-room schoolhouse.
That's
that
right.
Yeah.
Lit by candlelight.
That's right. It was hard.
Yeah.
Staving off Native American attack.
Really?
Yeah, I get it.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's not what we're talking about today.
No.
We've got an exciting Wellness Wednesday teed up for you. We're going to be talking about workplace stress and burnout. We'll end on a high note.
Nailed it.
Get it?
Yep.
Get it? The opera is going to be joining
You've
us.
been planning that for some time.
No, it just happened. And I'm so excited when
When
it
we were
did.
here to see it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. We'll be right back. It's the 419, powered by WGTE, presented by Witro Wealth Management.
Support for the 419 comes from Witro Wealth Management, where we understand that your financial path is personal. Advisory services are offered through Capital Investment Advisory Services, LLC. Securities offered through Capital Investment Group, Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. More information at witroadvisors.com.
The 419, powered by WGTE, is made possible in part by supporters like you. Thank you.
Introducing The Local Thread, a community news series uniting voices and storytellers from across the region. In partnership with La Prensa, the Toledo Free Press, the Sojourner's Truth, Toledo Public Schools, and veteran journalist Jerry Anderson. The Local Thread brings you stories and conversations that connect our community. Hear it weeknights at 7 on FM 91 with early access on podcast platforms each morning. The Local Thread, only on WGTE.
Welcome back to the 419. It's a Wellness Wednesday presented by WorkSpring, and we're joined once again by our friend Elissa Larke from WorkSpring. Elissa, welcome back.
Hi, thanks for having me again. Good morning.
Elissa, by popular demand, we've had you back, although we're talking about something that's relatively unpleasant, but we've got to know, I know that cooking is something that you mentioned as being something that you do to sort of decompress or sort of hobby-esque. Since last you left us, what wins or losses have you had in the kitchen?
Yeah, actually, I recently made Tuscan chicken.
All right.
If you've heard of that, and it was really, really great. It's like orzo with like a sun-dried tomato cream sauce and chicken breast, and it was fantastic.
This was a smashing success.
Yes.
Speaking of not being invited,
Yeah, really.
you brought some though, right?
Yeah.
Not this time.
Any kitchen losses?
Any kitchen losses? Not
Nailing
recently.
it. All right.
I
That's
think
good. That's
I've
good to
done
hear.
good.
Yep.
My youngest, Miles, is in a habit now of, he won't say, I don't like this. He will say, and he's 8, which is like, but he's me right now. But his line is not, I don't like this. It's, not my favorite.
Yeah.
And so like he's
think
eating
that's
something.
charming.
It
Yeah,
really
it
is.
is, yeah.
But he's eating something and he's like just picking at it and moving around his plate. And I was like, Miles, do you like that? He was like,
Yeah.
it's not my
I don't
favorite.
care for it.
My
Yeah.
youngest
sweet.
is 3, and she has eaten candy uninterruptedly for 3 years. So that is where we're at. She's outside right now, just vibrating in the parking lot.
I think that's healthy.
She is an
The
absolute
dentist loves
terror.
her. Yeah.
But we're talking on a serious subject now. I don't think this is certainly seasonal, but we are talking about burnout and stress on a personal level. Talk to us through that. What is the definition of this, or start us out right at the ground level?
Yeah, so first I'll mention kind of the difference between burnout and stress. So really stress is kind of going to be those more acute scenarios, kind of short term. We all have stressors in life, right? Where we have a deadline coming up, an event that we're stressed about, but then you kind of get through it and bounce back afterwards. Whereas burnout is more so when you're experiencing chronic overwhelm and chronic stress, prolonged, and it's starting to affect, just the way you kind of feel overall, where you might be experiencing some different negative symptoms, other than, the short-term stress. You would be feeling maybe just overall fatigued emotionally, physically, and mentally.
You mentioned something that I think that is regrettable, but certainly accurate. I mean, unlike what my parents told me, being an adult is full of stress, right? So how do you measure that in terms of appropriateness or not? Is there a metric or the warning signs that stress is becoming sort of over the tipping point? What are some red flags there?
Yeah, definitely look out for those red flags. Stress can be a good thing. Sometimes it can be motivating and something that drives us to do the things that we're working towards. Whereas when we're starting to feel really negative and feeling maybe more irritable, more feelings of lack of interest, hopelessness, those kind of things, you might be more so experiencing that burnout at that point.
Interesting.
Can I ask you just to back up for just 1 second?
Is this what stress looks like?
No.
And
Okay.
explain to our audience who may have missed your first appearance what WorkSpring is and what you do there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just want to get
that's
right
okay.
into stress immediately.
Yeah,
He
absolutely.
felt the pressure to talk about stress.
nailed it.
So at WorkSpring, we're an organization that helps other organizations that are members of ours throughout the state of Ohio, and I believe southern Michigan as well. So we provide different services, anywhere from HR related services, training and seminar learning, and then also the wellness side of things. So that's kind of my department, where we help businesses with their wellness strategy for their employees.
Who's more stressed out, Southeast Michigan or Northwest Ohio?
You know, I'm not exactly sure, but I'm in the Northwest Ohio, and I'm feeling the stress recently. But
Sure, yeah, that's right. You're on the show, you get to say.
You know, I know obviously, Matt, you said, you know, that you know, stress and burnout aren't seasonal, but I gotta believe, you know, I tell people that, like, you know, when I look out my window and it's just gray, gloomy skies, it's harder to be positive and excited and think about the future because it just looks gray and dreary, right? And I think that, you know, as the calendar turns into the new year, it's also a time when we all sort of take stock on where are we at. You know, for me, I feel like it's calendar year and birthdays are the times when I go back and look and see, am I where I thought I was going to be at this time?
Sure.
And that adds to stress and burnout because it's like, all right, well, I'm spending all this time, or I feel like I'm on a hamster wheel, right? And you're working so hard, but I'm not making the progress that I thought I was going to make here. And so I feel like are employers seeing this at the start of the year, you know, more, or is it truly kind of equal across the full calendar year?
I mean, I think there's definitely some seasonal affective disorder that people experience that can contribute to more stress in general. But when it comes to like burnout, I would say that's more of an overarching thing. So if somebody's really feeling burnout from their work, they're likely going to feel that whether there's sunshine or not, you know?
Yeah.
Matt asked a little bit of this question, but like, what are the things that you can, you know, I guess I want to talk about this from two different sides, from the individual side and then from the employer side. Let's start with the individual. What are the things that somebody can do to tell that they're on the path to burnout, and things they can do to sort of get off that path?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, some of those different symptoms to look out for if you're just feeling very overwhelmed and very negative overall, and that's not going away for you. You're feeling it kind of chronically and feeling that fatigue, especially emotionally, mentally, physically. That's definitely going to be the things to look out for. And then as far as things that you can do as an individual, I would say not to discount that there are always going to be things that are out of your control. So there's things that we can't help it, we've got to get through it, we have certain responsibilities we're going to have to take care of no matter what. But making sure we're thinking about what are the things that are within my control that I can take a look at in my life and maybe make some changes, make some edits there. So some things to start with, thinking about your current boundaries, maybe evaluating some of that, your boundaries around work and your other responsibilities, as well as taking care of kind of the basics of your physical health. So really focusing, I think the first thing is on sleep, trying to get that 7 to 9 hours if you can, keeping that consistent as much as you can, and then nutrition, focusing on getting all of those nutrients you need as much as possible, and then of course your physical health, doing what you can there as well. And then some other things to think about is making connections, making sure that you are leaning on people when you need help and asking for that help when you need it. Those are the things I would say are the biggest things to start with.
What if you don't do any of those things?
Yeah.
What do you do then?
Then you immediately start a show that records 5 days a week.
Add to it.
Talk to me, the word boundary is something that is relatively new, I think, in the zeitgeist. At the risk of putting you on the spot, can you walk us through sort of the definition of that? What is the definition of boundary, and where are they in the everyday life that people experience?
Yeah, I think boundary might be different depending on like your personal life versus your work life there. But really what you're saying is you're thinking about what is my actual capacity, what am I actually okay with and able to be my best self in this way with this going on in my life. So thinking about where do I draw certain lines, and making sure that you're following that and sticking to that, and keeping those promises to yourself, really.
Yeah. And the stress and that people feel doesn't need, the work doesn't need to be the source of it. I mean, people's family lives.
Yes.
You have this sandwich generation that has parents and kids. I mean, that then are taken into the workplace.
Right.
So how can people try to figure out what the source of the stress is to be able to address it?
An oddly good question.
Yeah, I think doing what you can to kind of take a step back and evaluate where that's coming from. It might be kind of hard to decipher at first when you're in that state of overwhelm, but kind of taking like an inventory of what are my responsibilities, what are the things that I maybe can delegate or get some help with, or things that I might be adding to my plate because I'm trying to be helpful, but I'm actually not going to end up being helpful if I'm putting too much on my plate.
I'm curious as to you, as a technician of this and a real resource, are there signs that I can give myself an example. If I have, if my desktop on my laptop is full of documents, I know that is a sign
all
that
the tabs are open.
something is amok.
Yeah.
Right. Do you have something like that in your life? At the risk of asking you a personal question, do you have you're like, my laundry hasn't been done, or I haven't been to the dry cleaner? What are the warning signs that you're close to the tipping point? Obviously, that is some hyperbole there, but we all experience things like that, right? That they're like, I'm a little behind, and this is a sign. Do you have any of those?
Yeah, I would say for me personally, I tend to get more frustrated with even just like the small tasks, once things have built up to that point, then things that really don't normally bother me and normally I can function and do easily are starting to feel hard.
Sure.
That's when I can kind of tell, like, okay, I need to evaluate.
Yeah.
From an employer standpoint, I mean, burnout costs them money, right? So what can employers do to identify staff that might be, close to or maybe even well beyond burnout, and how can they address that?
Well, I'll let Seta. She has kind of some points there about really more focused on the employer side and the HR side of things. But one of the big things.
It's a good boundary.
Yeah.
It's working.
Good job.
This is effective. That was a trick. Yeah. So we're already better than we were. Yeah.
But I would say one of the things that employers can do, just one of the main number one things, is making sure that your employees know what resources they have access to in order to help them with that. And like you said, making sure that they're keeping an eye out for it, because you're not going to be having your employees at their most productive and best selves in your workplace.
On a personal note, I'm curious of the two of you. Gretchen, I'll start with you first. You made a great point that stress and these things do sort of drive us, or can be used as a mechanism for they push you to maybe sometimes even be better. Your life is a mess and chaotic, Gretchen.
The end.
Yeah, that's right. And that's our show. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, this is actually, these cameras aren't on. This is an intervention. It took us a month to get this here. Is there something, you fill your calendar, even when there's a blip of relaxation, you usually put something in from a volunteer perspective. But is there a warning sign that you get that you're at the tilting point, and who do you complain to?
Well, you mostly.
Sure.
The dishes aren't done, and the drop zone at my house. So you come in the door, wear your boots and coats and bag, and it's just chaos. And I'm like, eventually, what the hell is happening? Because it just contributes to it, and then you're like, oh well, now this is a mess.
Yeah.
And so
you can't get away from the clutter.
So once you declutter and get rid of that stuff and put everything away. I also have a lot more little pieces of paper and Post-it notes and stuff than I do stuff on my phone. So if I have a whole file folder of that kind of stuff, I know that it's just it's to-do lists and things. Once I get that all in the calendar or put away, and then it helps.
And I know this isn't your specialty, but she keeps all those balled up paper and oily rags by her furnace. Is that a good idea?
Is that a problem?
What about you?
Yeah. So for me, the burnout piece, I just get sick. I mean,
physically ill.
Physically ill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sure.
that's my wife will tell me
time fighting it.
yeah, when I get there and I'm
and you push.
I'm down and out for a couple of days when it happens. So prepare yourselves.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
But we're actually hoping.
Yeah. But to me, that's the sign. And it's like, okay.
Does that happen annually, Kevin?
It does. Yeah.
Okay.
Typically it's once a year. That
You just need a little vacation.
Burn the candle at both ends.
Right.
And I like to say that I like to try to light a torch in the middle as well and just see what happens.
Sure.
And so
really a fire theme.
That's right. Yeah. Mostly a self-arsonist.
Is that seasonal, or do you find it to be spring, summer?
Yeah, so it's I refer to in my own life overlap season, right? So it used to be more obvious to me when I was working for the Mud Hens, right? So I'm announcing for the Mud Hens. I'm announcing for University of Toledo.
Yeah.
I've got a full-time job, like family, friends, volunteering, all these things. This is all pre-kids. So,
oh my gosh.
But it would, when those seasons overlap.
Okay.
When it's basketball into football season, football into baseball season, that makes it challenging. So that was always for me the time. I'm curious, Elissa, just as we wrap this up, what is WorkSpring's actual role in all of this, in addressing stress and burnout for your members?
Yeah, absolutely. We can help with different trainings that we might have to offer, or that we can build out for organizations for their leaders, helping to recognize those sort of things, and then helping them think about what resources they want to be offering to their employees, and then of course just suggesting what things they can add in order to help people let off some steam, things like that.
Yeah.
Great.
People want more information. Let's give out phone number and your personal home address.
They can head
If you want
to
Tuscan chicken.
WorkSpring.org and learn more.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Elissa, Larke, thank you so much. We appreciate you. When we come back, we are joined, Seta from WorkSpring is going to join us and talk about more of the employer perspective on this as the HR director for WorkSpring. We'll be right back. It's a Wellness Wednesday presented by WorkSpring on the 419.
To me, community means connecting to others.
I'm Donnie Miller, and welcome to The Point.
I love CBS Kids!
We're a community committed to education. Discover new ideas, dive into exciting subjects, and engage with the world around you.
I would send them personally a t-shirt. Crime doesn't pay in the old West End, pass it on. That's how we cleaned up the neighborhood.
Vision loss for people is not the end.
It's a story, it's the next chapter.
WGTE Public Media invites you to Get Out and Play Day.
Monday through Friday, it's the 419 powered by WGTE. With Matt Killam, Gretchen DeBacker, I'm Kevin Mullen. What can people expect on the show?
It's going to be an hour, a reminder of why this is a great place to live, work, and play.
WGTE, where you come to watch, listen, and learn.
Welcome back into the 419. Gretchen, you getting into the shot with me? There we go. Perfect. Nailed it. It's a Wellness Wednesday, and spending time with friends is a good way to overcome burnout and stress.
I'll do that later today.
We are joined now with Seta Tchobanian.
Correct.
Did I
Nice
get that
job,
right?
Kevin.
It was very good.
It's just a beautiful name.
It is.
Yeah, there's no shot at Elissa, who we continually misspell her last name despite being kind enough to come on the show regularly. But we nailed yours.
That's because mine's difficult, so it has to be spelled correctly, right? People have to kind of think about it.
That's right.
Give me a little bit of background. What nationality?
So Armenian.
Okay.
So Midwest really isn't a hotbed for Armenians, but here we are. So.
That's right. Here representing the Armenian
yes, in Toledo,
the consulate.
Northwest Ohio.
Yeah. It's a slow burn takeover. So, Seta, you are on the show to give us sort of the clinical or workplace part of burnout and stress, but let's talk a little bit about you.
Sure.
Despite the fact that we just buried the lead and you are an Armenian spy, give us a career path that brought you to this calling.
So, career-wise, I actually started my degrees from the University of Toledo in management, just general operational type of work. And I worked for Target stores, again, as doing managerial type work, and got actually involved in training for new employees. We were building new restaurants in Columbus at that time. Target was just coming into the marketplace and so forth in Columbus. And actually so I started doing the training part of things there, and then I was actually promoted to back then it was personnel manager, and they sent me back to Toledo because there were already stores here in Toledo, and from there personnel manager evolved into other HR roles through Target, and I did store openings in Monroe, Michigan, moved to Cleveland. Most of my HR career actually was in Cleveland, where I was for about 20 years.
Okay.
And then came back this way, so born and raised here. But the HR side of it really, they tie into operations so much. It's so important, right? You need to have that partnership. So to me, it was kind of a natural, it's not even a transition, because you need to understand the business part, I feel, to be successful on the HR side of things. So.
But doing openings and things like that, for I talk about stress and burnout, Target is a big organization, so there's certainly systems in place there, but it is a bit of chaos.
Sure,
right?
absolutely.
So what makes you uniquely suited or wired to be able to handle the people and the chaos of all these things?
So it's interesting because, Elissa talked about how for some people stress can be a positive as long as it doesn't cross a particular boundary. I tend to work better in that type of environment, just myself. It's my personality.
Same.
It can be good or
able to-
bad,
yeah,
right?
right.
But I have a very high sense of urgency as well, and that can work pro and cons for you on that front. And so I think for me, part of my success has been able to, how do I kind of manage that? And obviously as the years went on, things kind of change, right? Different things enter, family changes, those types of things too. So how to try to continue to maintain that balance. And it's not always successful. It doesn't always work, right? I mean, I will say personally too, we talked about, you mentioned that sometimes you will get to a point where you're just like, I'm sick, I don't feel well type of thing. That's what happens to me. So I was like, oh, okay, that's exactly what happens to me. I get to a point where I'm just kind of, okay, enough's enough. But
We talked a little bit about this before starting your segment, but if you don't mind, I know there's a very special and needy individual in your life that has to be let out in the morning, but walk us through a little bit of your day. I mean, you are a technician, right? And we just heard that we were supposed to be getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep.
That's shocking information.
So that's for all the koala bears that are listening. But how do you
Only
manage?
7 to 9. That's right. None of this.
No more.
None of this
No less.
17-hour stuff anymore.
That's right.
Knock it off.
But walk us through your day. You're an early riser, early to bed. How do you manage that?
I don't know
part?
about early to bed. I try, but
All right.
for me, kind of getting myself up and going, and whether it's working remotely, going out to meetings, going into the office, the biggest part of me is I try to I'm a morning person, so I
Okay.
try to mentally kind of be there and ready to go.
What time does that alarm go off?
6:30ish. It's
Sure.
not super early.
Yeah.
So, except when my older daughter is home and wants to go exercise early in the morning, then that kind of
Yeah.
changes my trajectory.
And
a
she's
little bit.
unwelcome.
Well,
morning exercise. Get out of here. Yeah.
It's not it kind of gets your mind started and blood flowing. I have
Sure.
recognized that.
All right.
So, but in human resources, and I think that, anybody who in that profession and even outside of that might know, your day is never going to turn out necessarily as you think it's going to
I
turn
bet
out,
not.
right? And so that's the biggest part, is being able to be flexible and adaptable to those different types of things, right? Whether it is even at home, although my threshold is probably a little less at home than in the workplace, right? To be able to kind of flex in between that. So that's, kind of my typical daytime type of thing. And then when I return home, as my children are older, I've got a senior in high school, one at college. So,
You're almost free.
well, I miss some of that stuff.
Yeah, I
Just
bet.
wait, some,
Yeah, no, I
I mean,
get
so,
it.
but
Yeah.
yes, to that point, yes. So that kind of things kind of slow down later in the afternoon for me and into the evenings. There's not as much activity going on, right? So often have conversations with my husband that it's going to be me, you, and the dog again pretty soon. Different dog,
Yeah.
but from that perspective. So now I'm kind of at a different stage in my life, which causes me stress as well.
Right.
Of
sure.
okay, what's this going to look like?
That's right.
Going forward, right?
Yeah.
For the two of us.
This
my
is
husband
what
Yeah,
and
we've
you
I.
want to
known.
talk to this guy forever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this from the employer
Yeah.
perspective, right? I mean, your career has been in human resources. That's the role you're in right now with WorkSpring. What can an employer do to identify burnout in their staff?
Sure. So, we talked about, you kind of made a joke, we're not psychologists, we're not physicians, even though some are in that HR profession. But I think that the most important part is that you need to be able to have a connection going in with your teams in order to be perceptive enough and have those relationships to pick up when things have gone from just that stress to more of a chronic burnout condition in the workplace, right? As Elissa kind of defined what that looks like for individuals, that it becomes chronic in the workplace and it really has not been addressed, or individuals don't see a way out. The communication piece is critical, right? And not only for HR, but your managers, because normally they're the front lines. If you're in a larger organization, for sure, right? Some are smaller and so forth. But your managers need to be trained and again have the ability to communicate and provide the type of environment where, number one, people are going to be comfortable talking to them, and vice versa, that they are perceptive enough maybe to see that something isn't quite right.
Doesn't it start with really the most providing the most basic supportive services? I mean, someone's not going to come and talk to their employer about burnout if it's a complete and total pain for them to ask off to go to the doctor.
Absolutely.
And they get written up for, whatever.
Absolutely.
So it has to, it's like across the board.
Yes.
The cultural.
It's the cultural, it is the organization in and of itself, right? And what they strive to be and want to be, not only for themselves, for the employees, for the community, it's all of those things, right? That's 100% correct. It needs to start there. Somebody needs to be able to have that comfort level to do that, and that is created by the environment, by the leadership, by the team, all those things.
And
in
I'm
the
sure there's
organization.
data to support the fact that that type of environment not only is better for the customer experience, but also it must affect the bottom line, right?
It absolutely does, right? You talk bottom line, you mentioned it impacts healthcare, your health rates, safety concerns, those types of things. There was a stat that I saw not too long ago from actually the World Health Organization. There's so much out there.
Are we still doing
about
that?
Workplace burnout.
The World
I think it's still there.
That's a different
I think
show.
It's still
We
there.
aren't.
But it's
They are.
Yeah, please keep going. Save it, Seta. Save it from yourself.
You don't want me to start laughing. That's a whole other conversation. For every dollar an employer spends, they get $4 back in return, right? If they spend $1 on employee resources, as we talked about, mental health, well-being, all of those types of things, $4 in return, right? So to your point, it's a huge impact. So
I have two questions. We talked a little bit about boundaries in the first segment. It is a slippery slope, right, or a needle to be thread, put in your metaphor. But what is a responsible culture for an employer to have? And some of that is take that stuff home. What, is there? I'm sure there's not necessarily science to it, but can you walk us through at least your thinking?
Sure. So, every workplace and every scenario is going to be a little different. And I think that that's the critical part to understand coming out of things. But I think that when people come in, and to me, this is the key. If you have things going on personally that are coming into the workplace, right? If you can somehow draw that line and that boundary, sometimes you can, but if it is things that start to then cross that line and you start to see disengagement, negativity going on, those types of things are really when I feel like you as the employer need to maybe start addressing or seeing that something is not quite right. There's a lot of different methodologies with, some organizations do surveys on a regular basis, right? And we at WorkSpring, though, we always say, if you're going to do the survey, really take a look and see what's there, right? Don't just do it to just do it type of thing.
Don't ask a question that you don't want the answer to.
Correct, right? And then don't also bite off more than you can chew. There might be one or two things that you want to focus on, but you can also target, just to kind of get a feel for where the employees are at.
Top advice for an employer if that's looking at this going, I know I'm not doing it right. What's the first step they should take?
I really think that it is taking a look at your organizational culture, the structure, workloads, those types of things, because as we talked about early on, yes, it might be one person that is having burnout and going on, but look beyond that, because it might not just be that one person. There can be things collectively within the organization that could assist and make a difference to potentially somebody else down the line as well, too.
From a clinical perspective, just taking a look at the three of us, who do you think the largest drain on our team is?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I'll give you a hint, it's Gretchen. Anyway, we've got, speaking of stress.
That's not an appropriate assessment tool.
Can we inflict stress on you?
Already have. So let's go. Why not?
Let's do it.
continue.
All right, it's time for Gretchen's
Wacky Quiz.
Oh my goodness.
That name causes me stress.
All right, I'm going to give you 4 rapid fire questions. Gretchen's asking for your favorite thing in the region, and Matt is going to grill you to describe Toledo in 9 words. All right,
Okay.
here we go. These are the tough ones. Question number 1, what's the kindest thing anyone has ever done for you?
Oh my goodness, this is a tough one. I will say in the past year, recently, it was my daughter coming back from college over Valentine's Day weekend because my mother had just passed away the weekend before.
Oh, so sweet.
Sorry.
So
Thank
kind. Who is your favorite Disney character?
Pluto.
All right.
Nice.
How about-
Old school.
yes.
I love it.
That's the show. Yeah, I love it.
If you could be famous for one thing, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Don't say sex tape.
No.
That's a shot at Armenian heritage. That's a Kardashian
You
joke.
threw me off. I had it.
yeah.
They actually did something good for Armenians, right? So
That's
you
right,
connected
they
the
did.
dots
Yes,
there.
yeah. That's right. I can hear the FCC climbing in now.
Oh my gosh, I had it and I lost it.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. No.
You
You're
can
fine.
now you know our problem.
Let's come back to that one. It might come
yes,
back.
yes,
to me.
ma'am.
All right.
You got it.
Well, this is not going to help you get back
no.
on track.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
If you had to eat a crayon, what color would you eat?
Black.
All right.
Okay.
There you go.
All right, what's your number 1 most favorite or what you consider to be the best thing about Toledo or this region?
This is tough. I have to say I absolutely love the art museum because it was a big part of my life growing up.
Yeah, I heard you say Metro Parks. Thank you.
They were not as big when I was here, like early on.
That's fine.
They've
Let's just
grown,
get to
though,
your
right?
stupid
Yes,
list
okay.
of things. All right, 9 words. We're gonna do it together, Seta.
my goodness.
Yep,
You
you already said
off your
you
9 favorite metro parks.
already
and
said
go.
you already said the art museum, so I'm gonna give you 3 words for that. So, what else about the region?
The zoo.
The zoo. Got it.
Can I say the name of a specific restaurant?
Yes, ma'am. Of course you can. It's your list.
Your list.
Borderline Grill out
All right.
in Mayberry. Kind of recently, we've been going there.
Out in Mayberry, there. I love it.
Because the service is phenomenal.
Nice.
That's a huge
Borderline
thing for
Grill.
me.
You heard it here first. Okay, we only have a few more. You can do it.
Oh my goodness. The university and
University.
going to the sports games. I think
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Do you have a favorite team?
Well, of course, the Rockets and the Buckeyes.
There you go.
So,
All right, the Rockets.
although I
What
will
sports do you go to for the Rockets?
football primarily and some basketball.
Okay.
So,
It was a self-serving question.
One last one. Something about the region. One word. What do you love about it?
the lakes.
Yeah, all right,
All right,
great.
good. I don't think anyone has said that yet.
Lakes is a new answer. I told
Yes,
you it'd be great.
You got it.
Seta, thank you so much. We appreciate it. People want to get in
Good list.
contact with WorkSpring one more time. What's the website?
WorkSpring.org.
All right.
Thanks
It's
for being
Wellness
here.
Wednesdays here on the 419. You can tune in every Wednesday, and we will do our part to make
Nice
you
meeting you. Thank you.
more well. I think I said that right.
We'll get that
Something like
right eventually.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, when we come back, Rachel from the Toledo Opera is going to join us, and we're going to talk about the elixir of love. It's coming up on the 419.
Support for the 419 comes from Witro Wealth Management, where we understand that your financial path is personal. Advisory services are offered through Capital Investment Advisory Services, LLC. Securities offered through Capital Investment Group, Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. More information at witroadvisors.com.
WorkSpring. HR issues and employee well-being go hand in hand. WorkSpring supports employers through compliance, training, and wellness because healthy workplaces don't happen by accidents. Learn more at workspring.org.
Toledo Refining Company, a subsidiary of PDF Energy. Toledo Refining Company is a supplier of fuels that keep our region moving. Located in Oregon, Ohio, the refinery processes crude oil into gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, and other petroleum products.
And Tarda, celebrating its 55th year of connecting Northwest Ohioans to their community. More information at tarda.com.
Welcome back into the 419. We're talking now with Rachel Cameron from the Toledo Opera.
Good morning.
Rachel, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Rachel, not to put you on the spot, but this is not how I would have spelled Cameron.
No, no.
What brought you to this collection of vowels and consonants in this order?
So my name is intentionally misspelled. It should be Cameron, like the Scottish Cameron clan. But the family lore is that a grandpa way back a few generations got mad at the family and changed the spelling, so it's now spelled wrong on purpose.
How about that?
So
What a fun family.
I love his response.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I'm going out on my own.
Yeah.
But I appreciate, like, when I was in, I think I was in junior high, 6th, 7th grade, when I decided I was going to rebel from the family and change the spelling of my name and go from Kevin to Kevyn. And I tried it for about 2 days.
Yeah.
And it didn't last.
That's weird.
Yeah. Right, no, I know,
Yeah,
but
it is weird. Thank you for saying.
but I think it's
That'll
interesting.
show 'em.
Way to judge me.
Sorry.
But I think it's interesting that he like rebelled and said, "I'm gonna change the spelling, but not the pronunciation."
Yeah.
Like, you could just totally change the name.
But I want to know the reason, because it's sort of an operatic story, right?
Yeah,
it could be that
kinda.
maybe it was for some big romantic thing
it
or
was out of
some big
love.
family feud, right?
Who
that
knows?
could have been the basis of an entire opera.
We're going to bring you back for another show and talk only about your
Yes.
family lore,
Okay.
but that
Yes,
is
we
not
can
the
do
reason
that.
for today's show.
No.
What's your role with the opera?
So I'm the director of marketing and communications at Toledo Opera. So anything the opera puts out, I'm behind it.
Are you born and raised in Toledo?
No, I'm from Ohio. Originally grew up in the Findlay area, but then spent most of my life in Minnesota. So I came back here for grad school because of Toledo Opera and asked them for a job every year that I was in school until they gave me one.
Well, the opera's doing an excellent job on their marketing and communications, reaching out to audiences to come to their events and certainly their performances. You have a big performance coming up on February 13th and 15th. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, we have the Elixir of Love coming up. It is a bel canto opera, which is just Italian for beautiful singing. We have not
Pronounced Cameron.
We have not produced the Elixir of Love since I think 1985.
Oh my
so
gosh.
it's been a long time.
Cool.
And it is just a delightful, charming, heartfelt comedy. It's about this shy underdog, Nemorino. His name literally means little no one.
Aw.
And he is head over heels in love with the landowning Adina, who kind of runs this small
Which always
town.
works out.
It always works
Yeah.
out.
Oh, don't bury that.
And she really doesn't give him the time of day. So this quack doctor comes in and offers him an elixir of love. It's actually just Bordeaux, cheap Bordeaux. And he drinks it, and unbeknownst to him, the entire town finds out that his uncle has passed away and he's inherited a fortune. So now everybody wants him except for Adina, his one true love. So eventually, she says, hey, I was here first. I actually want this guy. So it all works out. Nobody dies. And it's just heartfelt, charming, very sweet.
I find that wine works in many.
Yeah.
This is a family show.
Totally
Gretchen.
different subject.
How close is that scenario to the synopsis of Teen Wolf 2?
Well, opera inspires a lot. So,
Well, you are.
Wow.
Good. Yeah.
You really grasped it.
La Boheme, Rent, all that stuff. There's Hey Arnold does Carmen. So opera is kind of in our world and in our zeitgeist. We just aren't always aware of it.
I'm interested in things with, like, you go see a Broadway show, and I understand the language they're speaking and singing in. That's what carries the narrative, and I can follow it. This is not always the case with the opera.
Correct. We sing in all different languages. The Elixir of Love is going to be sung in Italian, but we have English captions above the stage on either side of the stage. We even do that when we do English productions, just to make sure that every word is understood. So on top of, you have that, but you also have the music is set so beautifully. I have people say, I didn't even need the captions because I could tell what was happening.
Now, Gretchen, what font would you need?
It'd need to be about 1,000 font.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where is this performed?
This is performed at the Valentine Theater. We've been there since the mid to late 90s. It's our home, and we love performing there.
And you're going to be in these performances.
I will.
Yes.
I'm in the chorus this time around, so it's a lot of fun to sing and then pop up and take some pictures and then go sit down and do my other job.
Our first segments were about stress and burnout. It is not necessarily the traditional path you go into opera, so talk to us a little bit about that. And do you still get butterflies in your stomach in performing, or are you well past that? Talk to me about your starting and how you work through stress.
Yeah, well, opera found me. I started singing opera in high school, started singing with the Minnesota Opera as a kid, and then just kind of relentlessly pursued the career, and that's true in the opera industry as well. A lot of administrators are former or current singers who It's really a joy to contribute to the art form in that way every day of your life. Not all of us are so lucky when we pursue singing.
Your folks musically?
No.
No, nothing. No
Nope,
one sings.
not at
Are
all.
they always supportive of this?
Oh yeah, my father always says, I hate opera, but I'll go to everything you're in. So he would sit in the back and like play solitaire on his phone, and then I'd come
Until
on
you came
stage
out.
and he'd watch.
Yeah.
And even now he'll be like, the main lead is gonna die. I'd rather just help you clean up the lobby if that's okay. So he comes to everything. He's not a big fan of opera.
That's so
sweet.
nice.
Yeah.
I attempted a vocal performance major and wisely gave it up after about a year of college. But I admire your dedication to it. There's a couple of advance events leading up to part of the marketing communication that the opera does is getting audiences to the shows.
Yeah, so we create companion programming. So these are low cost or free events for the community to kind of engage in the opera and in the story before the program starts. So it's a really good way to kind of enhance your experience. So last night, the Toledo Opera Guild had the Elixir Mixer, which was a fun little event out at Farnsworth Cocktail and Oyster Bar. Thursday, so that's tomorrow, we have our pop-up event called Get Into the Spirit of Opera. That is free. It's an hour long at Toledo Spirits. You get signature cocktails. A portion of the proceeds goes back to Toledo Opera. You get the chance to win a date night package, and you get a preview of the show.
Fun.
Nice.
And then on February 6th, actually your cousin is behind the planning process. We have Top Shelf, which is a Top Chef style competition. It's a cocktail competition because Elixir of Love, we had to.
Love it.
With local Toledo celebrities competing to create the best cocktail, and people will vote with their tips. And we have Dan Cummins, we have Abby Arnold, a whole slew of people are gonna be competing to create these cocktails.
Are you rooting for anyone in particular? Do you think someone's got the edge?
Well, we do have to we have members from the Elixir of Love team. So we have J. Ernest Green, our conductor, who actually is a UT grad and has been here, I think this is his 4th year with us, and David Walton, who is our little no one, Namarino. So because I'm closer with them and I'm rooting for them a little bit, but honestly, I love the competition and the concept.
Talk to me a little bit more about the opera, like the structure of it. We've had, Zach Vassar from Live Arts Toledo on, and they've got full-time employees that are they're regular musicians. What's the structure of the opera?
Sure. So we have a very small staff. There are 6 of us. And we just came under new leadership about 2 seasons ago. Jim Norman and Kevin Bilsma stepped up, and between the 2 of them, they have 50 years of experience with Toledo opera specifically, not even just opera. So we're in very good hands there, and one of the common misconceptions is that our productions are touring shows that come in or established productions, and we actually create everything from scratch. So our chorus is professional and semi-professional singers. They're members of the community, they're teachers, they're policemen, they're doctors, and they work tirelessly to be the choristers in nearly everything we do. So those are the faces you'll see every single time. And then, we do 2 main stage productions per season. We bring in our cast and creative team. It's a 3-week process, so it's very, very quick from start to finish. And then throughout the year, we have our educational programming. We have educational programs from preschool all the way up through adulthood. We have free community concerts, opera around town. So we really strive to be Toledo's opera company because we've been here since 1959, and it's important that we serve our community.
Tell me about an absolutely dreadful or nightmare performance experience. Everyone has one. Walk us through that. Do you have one that was just either lost your voice or missed your blocking? Talk to me about.
Well, I had a teacher in college who, her advice saved me because she said, it doesn't matter what happens. If you forget your words, just say something that sounds like that language. So I created this, I can't even remember it now, but it was like this Italian nonsense.
Sure.
Wasn't even words, just made up, and I got on stage and I was like, oh no. So
Yeah.
I immediately just spewed out my made-up nonsense, and nobody was the wiser.
How old
Just
were-
the notes, right?
Yeah. How old
Yeah,
were you?
I was in college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who cares?
I was a baby.
That's
So-
right.
So I had the opposite of a disaster performance, and maybe as a crew we did, with Jim Norman.
Oh, yeah.
When I was a kid, I was in the Christmas Carol at the Toledo Rep.
Okay.
And he played Cratchit. And
Jim did.
Jim did. And one of his oldest son, so not Tiny Tim, but his oldest son, Peter, I think.
I think his name is David.
Sure.
Yeah, that's the one.
I think his name is Kevin with a Y.
That's
Actually,
exactly
there you
that's
go.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well
The
done.
rebellious oldest son.
So the kid who played that character left the show at intermission. And so the director came to me, not the understudy, and said, "It's you."
Was it a singing part?
No, but there were a decent number of lines. We were about to go into like the dinner scene, and I remember.
And you killed it.
No, I did not deliver any of the lines I was supposed to.
Sure.
They just said like, every time someone passes a plate, that means it's my line. And if I don't know it, I pass the plate on.
Yeah.
And so that was.
So Tiny Tim
I
didn't
spent the
bring the
entire
show
time.
around.
Just feverishly
Yeah.
passing plates around.
Tim Fitzpatrick.
Oh my
was
gosh.
Tiny Tim.
You know, that reminds me of one of my favorite scenes from Teen Wolf 2.
Oh my gosh.
No? Well, it's on Tubi tonight, guys. The #1 streaming.
Can you tell us a little bit about your, to get away from Teen Wolf 2, or 1 for that matter, a little bit about what you do now for your vocal training. The shows are a day apart so that the singers have the chance to rest their voices, but what do you and then the semi-professional singers do leading up to a performance to protect their voices and be able to perform?
Absolutely.
Strictly Marlboro Reds, right? I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. Cigars every night, whiskey. The chorus has been in rehearsal for this production since November.
Wow.
So there's a lot of Italian to learn and memorize. It's very patter, very quick speaking and singing that you have to do. So we've been doing that for a long time. You know, people who are professional singers outside of school, they'll take lessons, but not necessarily weekly, maybe once a month or so. What happens, I believe, most often is coachings, and that's when you go into like an opera professional, somebody like Kevin Bilsma, and you say, hey, I'm singing this song. How do I make it better, not necessarily technically, but dramatically, because it's all about the story. Opera is storytelling at its core. Our preschool program, the main thing we sing is an opera is a story, and all of the words are sung. So that just kind of wraps everything up in a nice little bow.
Do you find yourself in your everyday life wanting to sing as opposed to talk to the bozos that you run into?
No,
Yeah.
no, I'm fine talking, I'm fine singing. It just everything.
Do you think this performance, this Elixir of Love, is a good entry point for someone that's never seen an opera before?
Absolutely. The story is charming. It's light, it's fluffy. It takes place in this small little village in the Basque region of Spain, so it's a nice escape in the middle of February in Northwest Ohio. And it's all done from scratch. There's only 2 chances to see this production, and then the production is never going to happen this way ever again. So it's a really great opportunity.
I'm going to get to ask the expert the question here in a minute, but I'm curious. We'll start with you, Gretchen.
Uh-oh.
What is your go-to karaoke song?
I don't like karaoke.
Fun. What a fun answer.
If you had to do karaoke, Gretchen, right now.
I would say Katy Perry, Firework.
There you go.
Yeah,
Matt?
it's exactly the same.
Yeah, I knew it.
The theme?
Yeah.
Or something from Hamilton.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
What's your go-to, you have to do karaoke, which I know real singers generally don't like to do?
Well, funnily enough, when I was in Ohio Light Opera, we used to close down the Ugly Duckling or the Dirty Bird something bar in Worcester, Ohio. We used to do karaoke exclusively by all the singers. So
Can you imagine walking into
Yeah.
the bar
Yeah, it was
and having
nuts.
be like, boy, these guys are really
These guys are really
They're
good.
like, Matt Gillen on the stage. I'm like, no, it's all
But
right.
that's the worst, when like the singers come in that know that
Yeah.
they're good, and then they try to take over the whole karaoke thing.
It's like when Jason Bateman had to follow Michael J. Fox fun team.
I mean, think about his feelings there.
Those shoes are, I mean, admittedly small, but metaphorically large to fill.
So what's the song?
I think Disney, like I'm a big Beauty and the Beast fan, so that would be my go-to.
So Carrie,
What's yours, Kevin?
Oh my God.
Legit go-to karaoke song is the Macarena.
He probably does the dance with it. You know he does.
Well,
you know he does.
That's just how it's done.
ToledoOpera.org.
Yes, learn more about all of our events and our production at ToledoOpera.org.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thank you for the time. When we come back, we will wrap up this Wednesday edition of the 419. We appreciate you joining us. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Every day when you walk.
You laughed with us. You learned with us.
Hi, neighbor.
We made sure your childhood was special. Memories that could only be provided by PBS. For generations, we've given you programs that made a difference. Programs that entertained, informed, and inspired. And today is no different. This is WGTE Public Media in Toledo. It's where you belong.
Introducing The Local Thread, a community news series uniting voices and storytellers from across the region. In partnership with Laprenza, the Toledo Free Press, the Sojourner's Truth, Toledo Public Schools, and veteran journalist Jerry Anderson. The Local Thread brings you stories and conversations that connect our community. Hear it weeknights at 7 on FM 91 with early access on podcast platforms each morning. The Local Thread, only on WGTE.
Welcome back into the 419 as we close out this Wellness Wednesday edition of the 419. Timely topic to talk about stress and burnout. And then, of course, as we said, we end on the high note of getting to talk to the folks from the opera.
You had to bring that high note phrase
sure.
back in.
I did. I was so proud of it the first time.
Yep, that's right. Take it out behind the shed and shoot it.
You know, in gymnastics, when you got to move and you land it, you use that in every
gymnastics.
performance.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
I wasn't. My kids take gymnastics. Does that count?
It does. Yep.
What are you taking away? We do this when we talk about Wellness Wednesday. This is, not that we don't learn something in all of our shows, but this is the intentional sort of week to say, let's take something away from this. What's something that you're taking away?
I can start, which everyone will be relieved. Well, WorkSpring are friends of and supporters of the show. I always think it's interesting to talk to a person whose profession is in this space. They are, of course, people too. So they talk about how they handle things and red flags to them, which is relatable. 7 to 8 hours of sleep isn't a reality to some degree, but you should try to take care of yourself. And I do think it's interesting when we talk about what your employer's role is, right? Mm-hmm. Creating a culture of well-being is certainly profitable or the best for whatever widget you make. But not everyone can have their hands held and have their nose wiped too. So what's the balance here? And I think that the team today talked about that in a really eloquent fashion.
And the little things will probably make the difference. Just getting a little organized at home. Having a vegetable, trying to get to bed just a little bit early. Little things will help get us out of whatever we're feeling and get us through.
Yeah, it's that reminder that, sleep, diet, exercise, those are, it's control the things that we can control and don't worry about the things that we can't. So I love it. And of course, Elixir of Love coming up February 13th and 15th.
Yep.
More information is at ToledoOpera.org. If you missed any part of the show, you can catch it 3 times. 7 a.m. on WGTE's YouTube channel, 3 p.m. on FM 91, and 6 p.m. on WGTE Connects channel 30.4. And of course, all of our episodes are available online, WGTE.org/the419. Thanks to WorkSpring for their support of Wellness Wednesday. Thanks for listening. It's the 419, powered by WGTE and presented by our friends at Witro Wealth Management. We'll see you tomorrow.
The 419, powered by WGTE, is made possible in part by supporters like you. Thank you.